Just a few days ago, Total War surprised us with a development blog, which goes into the nature of Three Kingdoms and Total War Warhammer and the Saga series. Now, I'm not really interested in the Three Kingdoms series or the Saga series, that's just a personal thing, so I'm not going to go into that, but I do want to cover the Total War Warhammer stuff. Mainly because there's a few bits of interesting information there, and I've got some speculation regarding it, so I'd rather just discuss this with you guys and see what your thoughts are towards this. So I'll be reading directly from the blog itself, and I'll hopefully have some imagery regarding that. If not, it'll just be some standard fantasy artwork. But I'll have the blog itself linked in the description below, so without wasting any more time, let's go and check it out. The blog begins as follows. Back when we first announced our Warhammer trilogy in early 2015, we explained that we wanted to interpret as much of the Warhammer Fantasy world as we'd be allowed to. We had a little faith, but I don't think any of us anticipated the response to last year's releases. Vampire Pirates, Prophets and Warlocks, and now Hunters and Beasts. All have been some of our most successful DLC releases to date, and we can't thank you enough for your support on this truly epic adventure. Yeah, let's be fair here, those DLC packs have been some of the greatest things they've ever released. Their quality is getting much better with age, and you can see that they're truly embracing the Warhammer franchise as their own. With as much leeway as Games Workshop actually give them, of course, but that's a different story, isn't it? We do want everyone to bear in mind that there's a lot of content out there that is unofficial and fan-created. We're working with Games Workshop to realize as much of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles world as we can. But of course there are limits to what is possible, given the amount of content that has been officially created over the years, and this content is our source material for the game. The great news is that our collaboration together has already led to amazing things, and rest assured there's plenty more to come. Alright, so what I'm getting out there with the unofficial and fan-created stuff is like maybe the Matthias Ellison's, I'm pretty sure I'm actually butchering his name, his fan-created army books. A lot of people want Araby and the Amazons and the Halflings and so on, and there might be not a lot of source material. Well, there is more for the Halflings. I believe they had stuff in 6th edition and 5th edition and so on, but maybe not so much for Araby, which pretty much just had the Desert Dogs and maybe a little bit of stuff from Warmaster. I know a lot of people do want this race, and believe me, I do too. I want the whole fantasy universe there, but, you know, GW have always been kind of like wishy-washy with these kinds of things, and let's be honest, a lot of early lore from GW was a little bit racist if you look at it properly. But that being placed aside, seeing as we've had Norska and the Vampire Coast being made into fully fledged factions, and they also worked alongside with GW to actually create Diafin, I think there's a possibility in the future, depending if the fan outcry is loud enough. And no, I'm not saying that you guys aren't loud enough. I see the forum posts every single day, because I do visit the forum posts every single day too, and I always see at least one Araby post. But hey, you guys want what you want, and I can't blame you. The lore behind that actual race and faction is pretty cool. It's nice to have some humans down south, especially since everything's pretty much just undead and Skaven. So yeah, I understand you guys. Let's keep on moving, shall we? So we have more Warhammer 2 DLC on the way, and of course, the third part of our trilogy is deep into production with our largest Total War project teams revved up. I'm getting the impression here that they're trying to make the third game extremely big. I'm not sure how big, obviously, because they don't really give us too much information here, but I'm hoping that this is because more than likely we're going to see Game 3 being a very Storm of Chaos type of front with the standard campaign, and maybe with the Mortal Empires or Mega Mortal Empires, whatever they're calling it, being very end times focused, which to be honest would be super cool. I as a Skaven player would love to see some Storm Fiends. We're aiming for our next Warhammer 2 DLC and FLC to be out for Festag, and as mentioned in the recent patch notes, we're planning a number of fixes and improvements rather than revisiting an old world race in conjunction with this one. We hope you like what we have planned, and not to worry, because yes, Greenskins will be getting updated next year. Okay, so apparently we're going to get a DLC and FLC out for Christmas, which is what Festag is in the Warhammer Fantasy world, which is only about 3 months away, so that means that they've probably been in production for a while, and it's probably going to be based on the core Game 2 races, or maybe something from a DLC pack, but nothing from Game 1. This is actually pretty cool because they say that they're going to be fixing a lot of fixes and doing improvements, so I wonder what they have planned. We know that the recent patch had the forts for the Empire, which was in a sense trying to implement a new system for sieges. So maybe that's what we're going to be getting soon. And if that's the case, I wholly welcome it. We know that the greenskins are getting updated next year, which leads me to believe that more or less we'll see Game 3 around mid to late 2020, if anything. So other than the fact that we have to be a little bit patient to see an update, hey, at least we're getting new content. If they want to release DLC faster, but it's going to stay at the same quality as the most recent DLCs, I am all for it. I think it would be a very good thing. And hey, I'll keep buying if they keep throwing it at me. But only if it stays to the quality of the Prophet and the Warlock, the Hunter and the Beast, and so on. Because it's been their best. Let's not go back to the DLC that we had from Game 1, because it makes no sense compared to this now. Something we're also experimenting with is talking about upcoming content more and giving you more of a sense of scale as to when you can expect updates. This is risky for us, as we've seen what happens when people get upset over how long we're taking or when we need to move a date back, because sometimes things take longer to make or change than we expect. Okay, 2 things about this. First off, really happy they're going to actually communicate more. I honestly think that the communication kind of died a bit, but I can completely agree with them. A lot of people rage in the forums for no reason. Guys, remember, it's hard to be a game developer. I've seen it, I've got a few friends in that industry, and it's not easy. So we have to cut them some slack, especially since they're making such a large upscale game. Remember, this is a company that was used to creating historical stuff, where they had a lot of source material to actually go through it, and we know that they've had to go through all the old books and read this and read that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, especially for Warhammer, because I can guarantee you, if they get much wrong, other than basic lore changes and stuff like that, like Vlad, but I mean something really, really wrong, people will rage. So I think it works both ways here. It's cool to have more communication, but we as a community also have to realize there's a lot of work here. They further reinforce this with the next paragraph, which states, "This is very much the nature of creative game development, and is driven by our desire to make great stuff and do what's best for the game, and therefore players. We know that clear communications on these things is what you're after, so you're not in the dark about future updates and when they're coming. We're going to be more transparent to our updates roadmap and any potential delays to that roadmap going forward." Hey, I've already seen it in the forums. Grace is being more active, developers are talking a little bit more. It's kind of cool to see. Just we need to cool it ourselves. I'm actually defending Creative Assembly here, and I'm not being a fanboy, because I really don't really like the other games. Like, yeah, I do kind of like Shogun and all that, but like not the most recent stuff. But it's more of the case of like, well, we need to also see things in their point of view too. They're getting stressed behind the office, they've got bosses to deal with and so on. Let's cool it a little bit, yeah? The last paragraph is rather interesting, and it goes as follows. "And for what it's worth, in case you were ever in doubt about how closely we heed player feedback, we've blown a stack of skill points on leveling up how your wants and needs translate into tangible in-game changes. We now have a player experience manager on the team whose life work it is to scrutinize every channel out there which players use to express their feedback and desire for change. This gets compiled, weighted and prioritized, and then goes directly to the designers, who figure it into future updates. We hope you'll already have a sense of how that effort has translated into fixes and content changes in recent updates like Empire Undivided." So what I'm gathering here is they managed to clone Grace a couple of hundred times, and now just have an army of Graces just all over the forums, Reddit and so on. To be honest, that explains her recent activity. She's been actually pretty much everywhere recently. So yeah, okay, Creative Assembly now have perfected cloning. Jokes aside, this is cool that they're going to be more transparent and more talkative, and honestly, I look forward to the next DLC pack. I honestly have this sneaky suspicion it's going to be a Dark Elf / Skaven pack. Honestly, I could be wrong there. I have been wrong about a number of things lately, so yeah, I'm not too sure, but it should be rather interesting. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Let me know what your comments and your thoughts are regarding the blog post itself, and obviously the future DLC pack, what your speculation is about it. We'll do a little video in the future going through it a little bit more. But if you did enjoy this video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. Once again, thank you so much for watching. The support lately has been insane. I can't appreciate you guys enough. and I shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.